welcome back. Today we're going to be doing arrays. Now arrays, just like any other variable, basically you just have to put the data type. In this case we'll use strings. Oh actually no, let's use ints. We're using a lot of strings recently. So we put in the data type, and then what we do is we then put in square brackets, and then that's basically it. It's pretty simple really. And let's just say numbers will be the name of our array. And then what you do is you go equals, and then you put the value here. And the thing with arrays is that you have to have a specific amount of things in the list, right? You can't really just have a list that accumulates. You kind of have to have something that's a specific number, and we'll get to something a little bit more useful, which is array lists, which is a class similar to what we did before with the input, and we'll talk about that another time. But for now, this is a very simple array, and these are useful for just having a bunch of numbers that you want to iterate over and you just want to play around with, basically. So in this case, we can have a bunch of numbers, not strings, sorry, numbers. So say 1, 2, 3, 5, 2, 6, 4, 7. All right, and basically that's pretty much it. So we have a bunch of numbers, and then if we want to access those numbers, we can then print one of them out. So let's say system.out.print line, and then we go, this is what we do, we go numbers, and then we put the square brackets, and then what we'll do is we'll choose which sort of position it is that we want, and that position will then give us the value. And it starts at 0 instead of starting at 1, so keep that in mind. So if I were to put 0, I would get 1, which is the first element. So just keep that in mind, and then because everything pretty much starts at 0 in programming, and then 2 would be 3, and then so on and so forth. So that's basically what you do. It's pretty much the simplest kind of way that you can use an array. Now, another interesting thing you can do with arrays is you don't just have to use the primitive data types, the ones we all know, ints, strings, doubles, that sort of stuff. We can also use our own class, which is why I have a class up here, person, and we have a name, and then we have the constructor, which we input the name into. And so let's do that. Let's create a person array. Now, I know you're probably thinking I was going to make a thing, but no, we can actually make arrays of people. So let's just say people, and then what we do is we go equals, and then we can add the people into this array. So let's say we want to create an array with, let's say, now you're probably thinking, oh, you have to make objects, and that's true, but there's a short way of doing it. So you can go new person, and this basically just creates an object and inputs it into this specific, usually you'll do this when you have parameters and you just want to create an object inside the parameters. That's basically what we're doing here. So in this case we have Bob, and then we could put another person, let's say new person. In this case it'll be Angela. There we go. Something like that, right? So that's pretty basic, right? That's pretty much how you would create a that's pretty much how you create one. So yet again, you could always, the uses of this is pretty much like, this is going to be used a lot. Oftentimes you might use an array involved with input, so maybe you'll input a bunch of variables, and those variables go into an array, and then that array is then stored, and then you can then retrieve that later on, and that's basically what arrays are used for. So yeah, so pretty much this is a very simple kind of introduction, because I'm not trying to overcomplicate it, but that's an array for you. You can do string arrays. In fact, this up here is basically an array. But you can have string arrays, you can have array string, you can have anything, right? So yeah, in the future I'll get into more rules and stuff, but for now this is as simple as you can get.